Hi, Mrs. Demuga. I will be conducting an interview from your migration from the Philippines to the United States. First off, tell me about your birthplace and your early years of life within your native country.
I was born in the country of the Philippines in 1967, and I grew up there with my families in the province.
What made you decide to move here, and what were your feelings about that decision?
When I was 3 years old, my mom was a nurse and decided to migrate to the Philippines, from the Philippines to the United States to try to get a better future and life. So she decided to come to the United States by herself, and my dad followed her a couple years later, and then we followed to the United States in 1986 when I was 13.
Were there any particular reasons or circumstances for your migration to the United States?
My parents always um, dreamed of coming to the United States to have a better life and better future for us, for the kids. So they decided to come here to try to find jobs and hopefully have built a family here instead of the Philippines.
Did you have any disagreements with the decision?
Oh, well, we were young, and my grandmother wasn't too thrilled about it because she didn't want us to leave the country. But my parents had decided that if they wanted to have a better future for the kids, for us, they would have to migrate here and start trying to find hopefully a better future here.
Were there any positive or negative thoughts you had on America before coming?
When we were younger, every year my mom would try to ask us if we wanted to come here. We didn't want to come here because my grandmother was afraid no one was going to take care of us because it's a different country. We didn't have relatives here. It was just my parents. But my parents insisted that we come here and study here so we would have better career and opportunities. So we migrated and followed them when we were young. We were about 13, 14 years old.
Was there anything that surprised you once you arrived here?
Uh, yes, first of all, the weather is much different than the Philippines because our climate there is pretty much just all warm weather. Uh, we migrated here and came to Chicago, which had winter, so that was one of the biggest adjustments we had to do. And also, um, it's just a different country, so it's just different environment and different way of living.
Okay. What effect did moving here from the Philippines have on you and your siblings, such as physically, emotionally, etc.?
The first year I believe was the hardest, especially for my younger sister because when my mom left her, she was only 6 months old, so my aunt pretty much took care of her. So when she came here when she was 10, I think it was really hard for her um, because it's not knowing my parents and growing up with them. It was a big adjustment.
Prior to your moving, describe how you felt about the decision.
Um, we didn't want to. All of us were thrilled about coming here, and especially my grandmother. My grandmother took care of us and my aunt, but we didn't have a choice because it's what my parents wanted us to do as much as we weren't really interested in coming to a different country.
Is there anything you like much better either here or in the Philippines?
Um, that we like better.
Yes.
Well, other than I believe
you have to adjust yourself in any way once you moved?
We had to adjust in a lot of ways. Different school, different ways of living, different type of people, different environment, different um, different ways of school and new friends and meeting new people.
Knowing all that, compare your life both here in the U.S. and in the Philippines.
Compare, okay. In the Philippines, well, we were younger, so um, we were surrounded by families. Uh, it's very, Philippines is very, when it comes to traditional families, is very important. So you live around close proximity of families like relatives and aunts and uncles. And I think here you adjust to just kind of being on your own and not having all your relatives around you. So you have to adjust to the way of um, living here. And my parents worked 2 jobs, so we had to just do a lot of things on our own at home.
Were the living standards different between here and the United States?
Yeah, it's much different. Like I said, in the Philippines, it's more uh, you live close to families and relatives, especially in the province. So you always have people around you. Unlike here, where when we lived in Chicago, we didn't have any relatives, so we were much on our own. My parents worked 2 jobs, so it would just be between me and my sibling to kind of take care of ourselves, making sure we have dinner and we're just taking care of each other. And my parents just worked constantly, so we just went to school and home pretty much every day.
How did your family deal with the adjustments you had to make after the migration?
I think we all had to adjust because my parents were used, because they left us when we were young and they were already here, so all they did was work. And when we came, it was a big adjustment for all of us because they had to make sure they took care of us at the same time. So we had to have schedules and how to what to do at home, chores and do laundry and cook for ourselves because they were working 2 jobs to be able to make a living to pay for the rent and the mortgage and the utilities. So it's a totally different ways of living compared to the Philippines.
Okay. Now describe the job opportunities you had in the Philippines in comparison to the jobs you were able to find here.
Well, when I came here, I was young, so I didn't know anything about work. But my parents, I believe they both had a degree in the Philippines. My mom was a nurse, and my dad was, I believe, an engineer. But they couldn't find a job back home. It was always harder to find a job. So when they came here, it was easier to. There's a lot of opportunities to work full time and part time. There's a lot of jobs that's available for anyone that wants to work.
Knowing that, was your financial situation better here or better in the Philippines?
Well, financial situation, I think, is it's two different uh, situation because in the Philippines, you don't you don't have mortgage and you don't pay because most of the time you live with relatives or you live in a home where it's pretty much owned by your parents or where you don't pay mortgage. Unlike here where we all have to work so we can earn a living because you pay mortgage monthly and then utilities and then you have to buy a car in order for you to go back and forth to work. So it's just a different way of living.
Okay. Uh, Suppose you stayed in the Philippines. Do you think your values and morals would be any different?
No, my parents tried to raise us the same way, with the same values and moral as we would have growing up back home. Um, I just think there's certain things that you become westernized in having to interact with the people here on a daily basis. So you, Pikachu, as much as you try to instill that value, you become a little bit more. You kind of somewhat become a little bit westernized in certain things, in certain ways.
As you encountered people as you were staying here in the United States, do you feel that they were any different than the way you guys were?
We were brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the Philippines, there's it's just the tradition is different when it comes. First of all, when it comes to religion, I think that's the biggest thing. In the Philippines, religion is very important. Like where you go to church and mass every Sunday, you do the rosary and you pray every night before supper and before you go to bed. It's just very strict when it comes to religion. Here, as much as we did go to church every Sunday, it's not as strict when it comes to the rules and the requirements of what a Catholic requires you to be a religious person.
Were the people any nicer, more friendlier, or anything like that?
No, it's pretty much almost the same. It's just that in the Philippines, there's a lot of elders are respected in so many ways that unlike here, what I experienced when we were in high school, I remember when you have to answer questions, you have to raise hand and stand up out of respect to the teacher, and you always have to say good morning and help them when they're walking in the hallway. When I came here, it just seemed like it's a little bit more different, unlike our ways back home.
Okay. Were you and your siblings enjoying anything about the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I can say in the United States is everybody's equal, everybody's the same. So if you work hard, as long as you work hard and you earn a living, you're able to achieve the same as others can achieve. As long as you work hard, you're able to eat the same food, you're able to buy the same things, clothing or anything material stuff that you can afford as long as you're working. Unlike in the Philippines, because it's hard to find jobs, so you have less money, so you have less money to spend on certain things, so everything is very limited.
Tell me about your school situation.
Meaning,
Both here, how it was here when you were.
the difference?
Yes.
Oh, the only difference is in the Philippines, elementary school is from first to sixth grade, and then you graduate, then you're high school, and then you go to college. So you graduate as early as, I believe, 18 years old. Here you have elementary school from first to sixth grade, and then middle school, 7 years, and then high school. And then by the time you're done with college, I believe you're 20, maybe between 20 and 21. So you're a little older. But the standards, I mean, they're both somewhat equal.
in this case, English, when you came here?
Uh, yeah, I think language is there's always going to be barrier in language when you're coming from a country where you spoke your native language. But um, we we didn't have a hard time understanding because we had English subject in the Philippines. That was part of the curriculum that we had was English subject from kindergarten to we graduate. So we we know the basic of English. It's just maybe more of a slang that we don't know that we have to adapt to when we came here and have like a better understanding on how to communicate that way.
Okay. Well, after being here for most of your high school career and the rest of your life, raising a family, how do you feel about your parents' decision to come here?
Oh,
Were
I
you
think
satisfied?
yeah, I think it's probably one of the best decisions they could have done for us because it gave us an opportunity to have um, to be able to go to have a better um, career and future for our kids and our families. Unlike in the Philippines, where I know a lot of my cousins and relatives that are similar age as me didn't get to come here. A lot of them doesn't have jobs and doesn't have um, career and they don't have uh, the things that we have here for our family, like a house, cars, um, and material stuff that you're able to afford. Coming in, coming to the United States, I think is one of the best thing that my parents could have given us for our future.
All right. Well, finally, do you have any last thoughts or regrets you would like to share with us?
No, I think the only thing I could say is I think any country always thought of the United States as a country of opportunity, a country where you would have a better life. And as much as I know coming here, everybody works hard, I think it just opens doors to like so many opportunities when you come to the United States and having that and having the freedom to achieve that and work hard, I think is probably one of the reasons why a lot of other countries likes to come here to pursue better future for their families.
All
That's
right.
it. Thank you.
Well, thank you.